Welcome to the big show. Today we're going to talk about the thing that everybody hates, and we're going to give you a little insight into why your pay plan keeps getting changed. There's going to be some fun stuff in the news and much, much more. I'm Chris Collins, and this is Christian.
Hello, everyone.
That and much, much more coming up right now on Service Drive Revolution. So as we sit here right now on this set, if you're listening, we're on the Service Drive Revolution new set. Coming up very soon. What you can't see on the other side of this is getting demoed because we're building a library. And a lot of the stuff for the library has been showing up early. And one of those things is the stereo system that we're going to put in the library. So I had... over the last weekend, I had a little listening party. So I invited some friends to hear the stereo system that's going into this library that isn't built yet, but we have
The speakers.
And what would you say about the listening party? So the speakers are 300 pounds each.
They're huge. And I would say that it transforms the way that you feel about music it's that crazy. I've been listening to music my whole life, big fan, everything like that. Never heard anything like what I experienced.
Yeah, you can know a song really well. It can be a song that you've listened to a bunch of times. And on a really good system like this, it will feel like the first time you heard it, or you will hear things that you never heard before.
Yeah, like on there's a couple of songs that we listened to that they had really beautiful guitar parts, and it was so clear you could hear the pick hitting the strings.
Yeah.
That was really neat.
Or it sounds like the singer's in the room, like you hear him breathe.
You hear him breathe. And it's just so clear. I think that was the thing is that some of the songs that you played, it was literally like we were standing next to the people as they were playing. It was so unbelievable, it hit you in the soul a little bit if you let it. It was cool. It was one of the neatest things I've ever experienced. It was really fascinating. Our clients are gonna dig it.
Yeah, and so since that listening party, because now it's been 4 days, I got the record player that's gonna go in, which is even better.
You might have to have another listening party.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I want Kevin and Kosh to come listen too. It was a fun listening party. One of my better friends that was there is also from the Midwest, like yourself. Yes. I was pointing out that you two kind of have that Midwest thing where you're very kind and very sweet. Yeah, I mean, it's a great quality, but it is... when you are in New York or Los Angeles, cities that are kind of more about business,
yeah,
that Midwest characteristic kind of sticks out. Also, what was interesting is when you guys were talking that you literally were like grew up in the same basic area.
Yeah, so within a few miles of each other. And where I grew up, just to let everybody know, like my town had 1,300 people in it. The town that he was in was less than 700 at that time. So it was within 15 miles, less than 2,000 people separated us. And then for us to kind of meet up again later on down the road in Los Angeles, so crazy. I was joking, talking with some of the guys, is that a lot of people from my hometown are still in my hometown. They didn't leave. So it's rare for me to be out of the hometown, let alone someone else doing the same kind of thing. And we had great conversation. He's awesome. It was the most time we'd spent together. It was really cool.
Yeah, in Illinois is where this is.
Yes, rural Illinois.
We're talking about, which there is a funny connection there. You know, my family is from Springfield, Illinois. Moonshiners, Irish moonshiners. But and so that same friend, the week before, got a new car. So have you heard of Ferrari F8?
It's a pretty cool car.
You've heard of it?
Yes. I've seen pictures.
Okay, so people perceive that I know a lot about cars. And oftentimes people think that like I have a classic car collection or whatever. My favorite car is the car that's selling most of the time. Like I love my Range Rover, but I'm not a car connoisseur like
Yep,
most.
You're not a car nut.
Even like you might be more than me. So he gets, he told me like, I don't know, the week before, whatever, he's like, hey, I'm getting, this car is getting delivered. It's one of a few. So there's something, it's limited, it's crazy car in there. I guess they're not making them anymore.
The production was in the hundreds, right?
Yeah.
Low hundreds.
Also, he's had Ferraris, so he's in their club, so he can buy them.
Yeah.
So this is a car that I don't think you and I, if we were, I can't imagine ever spending that on a car.
I'm not quite in that spend bracket.
But if we were, we can't buy that car until we've owned other Ferraris.
Yeah.
And you sign an agreement that you can't sell the car in a certain amount of time, which we know about that because we have quite a few Ferrari dealership clients. But so he buys this F8. I was there when it got delivered, which was a crazy experience because they brought it to his house.
He also waited a long time to get it, right?
Oh, okay. I think he waited over a year.
Yeah.
So he ordered it, spec'd it out, picked the interior, picked everything. And so it showed up. The guy who, it comes in a truck covered, and then they do the whole delivery. I saw it be delivered, and then I saw him getting the delivery, and then I left because I don't know, I had to be somewhere else or something. But we kind of made plans that Sunday we would go for, this is funny, but a Sunday drive.
Yeah.
And so I drove up to his house early Sunday, and we went out and drove, and then we had breakfast. Coming out of breakfast, he's like, here, you drive it. And I was kind of like, no, I didn't really want to. I was a little scared of the car. And also, I don't know, I'm kind of big for that car too, but he's bigger than me, so. I drove it, and incredible. Like, incredible in the sense that, yeah, sure, the Tesla is faster, but it's not like that. Like, the whole time we drove it, we never turned on the music.
You just sat there and listened?
Well, the engine is so, I don't know, it's just incredible. It's just an incredible car, and there's just something about Ferraris, the engine and just the design of them. They're so sexy, like the curves. It's an incredible car.
Yeah, not for you, but for a lot of people, that's a bucket list experience, right? So you got to drive a Ferrari F8 down the PCH on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Like, that's really, really cool. I also went on a Sunday drive, believe it or not. I've been doing that a lot lately as well. Don't have the Ferrari, but that's okay. I still have just as much fun. So I was driving around with the top down also, and I ended up passing this guy that was pulled over. And when you have a convertible and you have the top down, it's crazy. Like, you hear everything, right? And the car was at a stoplight, just stuck there for a little while, and come to find out that the guy had a carload of penguins. And the cop's like...
Didn't expect that.
Yeah, I know. And the
Never seen that before.
The cop goes to him. He's like, hey, what are you doing driving around with all these penguins? You can't do that. You need to take the penguins to the zoo. Guy driving says, no problem, officer. I completely understand. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'll take them to the zoo. Turns out, next day, I'm driving in the same area. Guess who I see pulled over the side of the road?
Same guy.
Same guy. What's he got a car full of?
What are the chances of that?
Slim, very slim. But he's got a car full of penguins again. Same cop pulls him over. He's like, hey, I thought I asked you to take those penguins to the zoo. Guy says, officer, I did. I took him to the zoo yesterday. Today I'm taking him to the movies.
Yeah. So,
penguins are great.
Do we have news for this one?
I'm surprised this hasn't happened yet. Like, maybe you're not surprised, maybe you are, but like, literally, I would think at this point, Ford should be reaching out to us to do a sponsorship because we talk about them so much.
Ford?
Yeah.
Most of the time when we talk about Ford, it's not stuff that they. We're Christian. We are more on the side of the dealer, I think, than the manufacturer in a lot of situations. I think we think like the dealer.
Any news is good news might not be. I might be wrong.
I don't think Ford is looking to us for encouragement.
Probably not. I wonder what.
See us is the problem.
I wonder what.
Let me guess.
Yes.
Ford has another recall.
Weird.
Is that it? Yeah.
So Ford is recall. See, the funny thing is that like it's because of the types of recalls. Like I think the last time we reported a Ford recall, they were starting on fire and all that stuff. Like literally 120-year-old car company still makes cars that start on fire. But now we're recalling over 17,000 trucks just because the wheels might fall off.
What's the recall for specifically?
A National Highway Traffic Safety Administration campaign announcement tells us that select dual rear wheel models, the dualies, could have front wheel hub extenders that were improperly installed.
So is that like the 250s and up?
Yeah, so 350, 450, 550.
So that's the heavy duty.
Yeah, so it's the heavy duty thing. So the front hub extenders were not installed properly, which is causing the wheels to fall off, which is funny. Actually, ironically, terrible stock photo because the photo in here is of an F-150 and the recall's for the bigger one, the big boys. But yeah, it's pretty impressive that maybe you might be driving down the road and the wheel would fall off. I feel like that's not a good business practice.
Who's the source of this?
This came from Speed Society, but it's official. It's an NHTSA recall campaign, so it's real. But
Okay, well,
super awesome. I'm really impressed.
It's good to have a Ford service department.
Yeah, it's the way to go right now. So this one is, I'm sure that probably everybody's heard whispers of this, but California, our great state of California, has decided that by 2035, we are going to ban gasoline-powered vehicles. We will no longer sell new gasoline-powered vehicles.
And we're California. Being a resident of California, just like yourself, we're probably as close to a communist country as you can get for many reasons that we won't get into. But
so the funny thing about that is that
they're really excited to try to take our guns away.
Yeah, they're super pumped about that. But
they want to have the guns and they want us not to have the guns.
Yeah, so they came out and they said no more sales of gas-powered vehicles by 2035. And then 2 days later, they then came out with a rule: if you have an electric car, you cannot charge it between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. So now they're limiting the amount of time you can spend charging your car, but you can't have a gas car either.
That's on story. That's a total California thing. Makes perfect sense to whoever's running California.
It is so funny to me.
We're not supposed to question that sort of stuff. We just go along with it. Don't ask questions.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Comply.
And that's
and wear
definitely,
your mask.
It's a thing. I've lived in several places around the country now, and I would say we have more brownout blackout than anywhere else I've ever lived.
I had the lights or the power went out this morning, and it's super odd. So I'm reading. I had done my workout, and I was cooling down, reading a book. And in the book, it referenced a video. Well, no, it referenced a movie. This is so far off of Service Drive Revolution, but in the early days of movies, it wasn't about being a director or a writer or whatever. It was about the fact that you could videotape somebody moving around and replay it back, right? Like it was about the science in the development of the film and all that sort of stuff, right? So Einstein made a movie about, I believe it's in Russia, but there's a sequence there where people are running down the stairs being chased by soldiers. And I was reading this book by this guy who I'm a fan of his work, and he was talking about collages. And so then I pull up YouTube and I'm watching that, and then the power goes out.
Oh.
And now I got 15 minutes before I got to get in the shower and, drive down here and the whole thing. And every time the power goes out, it takes 25 minutes for my internet to come back.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't, it's just the worst. Yeah. But the rolling blackouts are very common where I am.
Well, it's going to become more common because they're going to have to build more of these charging stations, right?
I need one of those Tesla batteries.
Yeah.
We're having the same problem here at the office. Is the power goes out and then our server crashes, and then it's hard to get our server back up with all, it's a mess. Yeah, is that everything in the news?
Yeah, I think that was everything I had.
How many times did you have your pay plan changed?
4, 5.
It was common.
Yeah. Well, I never left though, too. So
I don't think I was an advisor 6 months and my pay plan got changed.
So I was really early on. I got one changed.
What was funny is I made more money, even though all the other advisors around me were complaining. I made more money. So I don't know. Yeah. But what we want to talk about today is, why does your pay plan keep getting changed? And I don't think it matters what position you're in. We all have experienced our pay plan getting changed. And I would say we often change pay plans.
Well, we're the stability, though, is what I would say. We bring the stability.
Yeah, no, people like it when we change the pay plan, but we have a different philosophy about pay plans, which will work into this.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Okay, so why does your pay plan keep getting changed?
There's a lot of good reasons for
that. So this first one is one that you came up with, which I thought was really, really good, is that often they focus too much on what people make and not the return on performance.
Yes.
So I remember one time during the recession, I interviewed 2 advisors in a row that brought their numbers, right? So I'm sitting there interviewing these advisors. They brought their numbers and they were number 1 in the dealership they were in by a mile. And I said, why did they lay you off? Because they'd said they'd been laid off. And they said, because I made the most money. And so literally, this was a public company that owns car dealerships. You can guess.
I have a guess.
They somebody comes in, they know nothing about the car business, and they're like, hey, this advisor making 150 grand, get rid of him, and let's keep the guy making 40.
Yeah.
And so, no idea that the guy making 40 couldn't write an oil change, right? And the guy writing 150 is actually keeping the lights on. I've also had it many times where you put it in place and the people perform, and then the dealer or whoever has this idea like, oh, an advisor can't make more than 7,500 or a service manager can't make more than this. And you're like, yeah, but look at the numbers we're doing. And they're like, nope, where I come from, an advisor,
That's what this job pays.
We try very hard to weed that out before we let somebody into the coaching group, because we would have a hard time going along with that. No, we'd probably fire a client over that at this point, I think.
I think so too, yeah. But at the end of the day, if we've got a slew of advisors making a bunch of money, everybody's winning.
Yeah, because if we did the pay plan, it's relative. Everybody wins, right? Somebody doesn't have to lose for somebody to win. Yeah. It can be a win-win if you know how to do pay plans.
That's right.
Which we know.
Was that dealer group one of the biggest ones in the nation?
Yeah, so Nation is definitely in their name.
Yeah, just curious.
Really, really smart operators, those guys. Okay, so they focus on the expense, not the return or the performance.
Yep, advisors can't make that much. I've heard that a couple of times, and it's nails on a chalkboard for me.
Well, and it also creates tons of turnover.
But at the wrong spot, at the top. You do turnover at the top, not the bottom. I'm done, though.
No, one more thing about that is oftentimes we will, when we go into a market, we'll try to figure out who the top advisors are around the market, right? And so we'll call those advisors and be like, hey, Christian, this is Chris over here at Bulldog Volkswagen or whatever it is, and I hear you're a really good advisor, and can I take you to lunch? And we go to lunch, and you're like, I like it, Chris, but I don't want to leave, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm working you, and then 5 months later or whatever, you call me and you're like, you got a spot for me? And I'm like, yeah, what happened, Christian? You're like, they changed my pay plan. Nothing opens the door more to steal top performers. If you're working them over time and you're networking and you're just touching them every once in a while, you eventually will get the call. And 90% of the time when you say why now, it's they changed their pay plan.
You also are really crafty that you plant the seed at the lunch. Hey, if anything ever changes, they do something to your pay plan, just give me a call. Like you literally, it's a magic trick. Yeah,
and here's the other thing that I love to do is I love to show them the pay plan they would be on when they come work for us. And let me tell you a couple things about that pay plan. Fits on one piece of paper.
It's easy to read.
Really easy to understand. And it's simple. And in the advisor, here's the thing. I would say, this is totally a random number I'm going to make up, and it's probably low. 60% of the pay plans out there for advisors and service managers, they can't figure out what they're tracking to make on a day-to-day basis.
That's right. So all of my pay plans were like that.
Yeah. And the good advisors, what are they doing every day? Trying to figure out what they're tracking to make.
What can I make? What can I make?
Yeah. And so they pay them on gross, which makes no sense because advisors don't control gross. It's just buffoonery, okay? So that's the side note for that. Number 2, this is a good one. They try to manage behavior. So do pay plans manage behavior?
No.
No, they do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I make CSI 30% of an advisor's pay plan, does CSI usually get fixed?
Yeah, so in that aspect, yes.
Does pay manage behavior?
It can.
I would say it does. My opinion is that it does manage behavior.
Okay.
But what happens is just like with the first one, that they're not paying attention to what the ROI is on the pay plan, right? They figure out like, oh, hey, we changed the CSI bonus and CSI's been up. So now let's change if somebody shows up late or somebody has too many customers with a shuttle or what. And then they start micromanaging through the pay plan, and then it has no effect because they're more confused than they were before.
Okay.
They try to micromanage things or manage through the pay plan instead of driving performance. There's a big difference between managing and driving performance through a pay plan.
Yeah, I think about pay plans as recruiting tools for getting the best of the best of the best. And then I always think about behaviors being managed by minimum standards. But your CSI example is very solid, and I've seen that work many times. So
yeah, but CSI is performance.
Exactly.
Everything else is buffoonery. Like the tripwires that I've seen people put into pay plans are just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about the shuttle drivers, you have to have so many open or closed ROs by the end of the month. What are other things that I've seen in pay plans that are super interesting? Oh, like that you have to have so much usage of the videos being sent to make your money. And then another weird thing is, I don't know if you noticed this, where instead of like a dollar bonus, like it's you can get more percents, which makes it really hard to calculate if you're an advisor.
Yeah, they have come maybe like...
Yes,
yeah.
if come maybe.
No, it's the grid thing and all that. I always thought that was somebody that had too much free time. And they were like, hey, how do I create a pay plan that's like tricky and whatever? But I never do a pay plan where the percentage is variable. Just don't. It's like you make this percentage, whatever it is.
Yeah, we call it the base.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, the reason why your pay plan gets changed is there's an inherent flaw in our industry, and it is being more and more prevalent than ever before. In the sense, I had a strategy session with a guy yesterday that this was clearly going on. So what happens is you have a service department that the customer demand goes up a little bit. Meanwhile, at the same time, you lose a couple techs, and the manager running that department says, I can't hire techs, can't replace those techs. The technicians that then you currently have might understand that the department needs them more than they need the department. So then they're a little bit more of a pain in the butt than they should be or whatever, right? And so now the shop is kind of it's not a collaboration. It's kind of like they're kind of holding it hostage a little bit. And now the service advisors can't get the work done. So they stop selling work and they just try to get diagnostic or warranty work or whatever done. And so their average per ticket goes down, right? And it's taking longer and longer for them to get a job done. And so now whoever's running the service department says, we're losing advisors because they're not making enough. So then what do?
They do things like guarantees, they'll up percentages, they pay more money for less work, basically.
And another example of this in an extreme scenario is take Quick Lube advisors for a second. So a Quick Lube service advisor is set up to fail from every angle there is, but one is the pay. So you have your lowest talented, right? Most of the time it's the new advisors, the least talented, lowest paid techs and advisors touching the most customers. And now the average per ticket on a Quick Lube, is it high or is it low?
Low.
Like how much gross does a Quick Lube advisor produce?
Less than they make, probably.
Most of the time it's around $20,000 or $25,000, right?
That's high.
I'm trying to...
You're trying to be nice?
I'm trying to be nice. So now to keep a Quick Lube advisor, if they were going to make 5%, 8%, whatever of what they wrote, it'd be minimum wage. They wouldn't be able to survive, right? So now what do you have to do?
You got to pay more, guarantee them or whatever.
And so now the percentage that you're paying out, so how efficient are Quick Lube techs usually? 50, 60%? So you got, and heaven forbid you have a manufacturer that wants you to have 2 Quick Lube techs per stall.
Please don't swear at me like that. That's terrible.
Then you're 25% efficient. So you got technicians that are 50% efficient. So let's say a Quick Lube tech is making $18 an hour, but they run at 50% efficient. What is your cost per hour?
$36.
Yeah, but what do you think it is? 18.
18.
And now you got a Quick Lube service advisor that's writing $20,000 in gross, but you got to pay him $4,000 or $5,000 a month to keep him because it's constant turnover and it's brain damage, right? So now you're paying them 25% of the gross after you have spent $36 an hour to produce that, right? And so same thing happens on the other side where, okay, now the advisor's performance is going down, but our turnover is going up. So we need to pay the advisors more. And in no time does somebody say, hey, you know what the fix is to this thing? Got all these customers that want to get in. We got all this demand. What we need to do is we need to hire more techs and start pumping out some work. And then the advisors will make more because they're paid the right percentage of what they do.
That's right.
The advisors can make a lot of, right?
They sell more.
How many times can we come in and move the percentage that the advisors are getting paid down and they make more money instantly because all we did was add techs?
Almost always.
Yeah. And so that's the reason why your pay plan gets changed is this happens like over time where it's like Band-Aid, Band-Aid, Band-Aid. Now the department's losing money. Everybody's in a panic and they just start cutting with no thought how do we create a scenario where it's a win-win for everybody?
Yeah.
The quick loop thing is the best example of that I've seen. Is it makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a death sentence in a lot of cases. It's tough to run the business like that.
Okay, and the last one that we have, we kind of just touched on. Most of the time, the pay plans get changed for service managers, service advisors, because they're not making money. Most of the time, the department isn't making money because they don't have enough techs to get the work done.
Yes, sir.
Techs drive. He who has the techs wins.
Always. It reminds me of a question I just got asked recently. Where's the best place to sit when a submarine is diving?
Did you hear the snicker off camera when you went into your segue?
I did.
Could this joke have started with I was walking to work the other day?
It could have, but I'm going to save that because there's other walking to work things.
Let's go back. You're in a submarine? What?
Yeah. So where's the best place to sit when a submarine is diving? The answer is inside.
Right.
Yeah. Public service announcement. In case anybody gets caught in a submarine before it goes underwater, go inside.
I'd like to say one more thing about pay plans. Not too long into my career, when pay plans were proposed to be changed, or when, let me say this, when they weren't right, I always came out ahead because I was a performer. If you perform, you're way less susceptible, unless you work for the Nation of America Auto Group or whatever, way more protected, because there still is a place for performers in our industry, whether you're a tech, advisor, manager, whatever it is.
Yeah, because a lot of times those pay plan changes, they're trying to fix underperformance, so the overperformer gets adjusted by proxy almost. But unless they're changing it because you make too much money, then that's bad.
I talk about it in the Millionaire Service Advisor book, I believe, that I accepted a job that I didn't understand the pay plan was communism.
Yes.
So I looked at the percentages and I was like, okay, this will work. I get my first paycheck and I didn't realize that all the money was pooled. By the way, I've never had the pool pay plan ever work. I've been convinced to do it a zillion times. I've never had it work in principle. I've been for it. I've wanted it to work, but it's kind of an individual sport at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the way that it worked is all the advisors' parts and labor dollars were pooled, then divided by how many advisors they were, and then you got paid your percentage on that. And so I walked into the office and I said, I didn't understand that this was how it worked, but if you look, and literally the advisor in front of me, when he got his paycheck, said, Chris, I hope you never leave because you made me a lot of money. And that was the guy that wouldn't answer the phone, wouldn't
yeah.
Right? And so I was writing because I thought what I wrote is what I was going to get paid on. So I walked in the office and my manager was great. And I said, hey, this isn't the way I understood it, but this doesn't work for me. And he said, I thought you were going to say that. Yeah, no, I understand, whatever. And they changed. I was individual after that.
Oh.
And it was that easy. There wasn't a big debate, nothing. They were like, yeah, because I wrote so much more, right?
And it wasn't fair for them to pay those other people off of it either. That's
no,
insane
and I
to
think
me.
before I got there, maybe it made sense because they were all kind of in the same mindset or whatever, and maybe that makes sense. But I was showing up to work. I couldn't believe how great those customers were.
Is that Cadillac?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't even think I was there a week, and a guy throws me his keys. He goes, rehose it. And I went to my team leader. I'm like, what does a rehose mean?
The guy lights
those
up.
customers were just old school.
Yeah.
The Crown Royal bottles I would get at Christmas. Crazy.
I don't even like Crown Royal, but I like the little blue velvet thing.
I didn't drink it, but it was nice of him to give it to me. It's great. Okay. Thanks, you guys. We're going to take off now, but we'll see you next time on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Job Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.